Hands up if your business uses SharePoint. Like most clients I've come across, I'm guessing you do, and I'm guessing you're looking for tricks to get data from SharePoint into the Power Platform. This is just part of a series that I'm going to do, which talks about getting information to and from SharePoint really easily. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get data from and to the Events Webpart. Often people think it's a bit complicated because it doesn't, strictly speaking, look like a list, but actually use the same principles to get data in and out as you would any SharePoint list. So here's how. Let's begin with the 101. So data in SharePoint sits in lists or document libraries, which are just different types of lists with a different template applied. But here's a list, for example, cost centers. You're familiar with these. You set them up, you've got people in them, you've got data in them. They're just columns of data in a list. To access the list settings, you would go here and look at list settings. The event is no different. So let's go to our events and have a look at all events. You'll get this out of the box. When you've got to this interface here, again, go and have a look at your settings. Now you don't see list settings because it's not by default being termed as a list, but the data is structured the same. If you click Site Contents and you have the right level of permission over your site, you will see this visual here. Here we'll notice Events. It'll always be called Events because it's set up as a default web part. Click on that and it takes you to this view. And again, you may think this isn't a list. But when you go to calendar here, you'll be able to see the data in different views. If you click on the current view, you'll see all events. Click on that and you're starting to get into much more familiar territory. Now this is more the classic interface that we had, where for example, we can edit the list, we can add columns, different kinds of columns. So you're getting the idea now, this is just a list. The great thing is, because it's always called the same, you can always get to it. I'll explain why that's important in a moment, but if you just look at your URL for your events list, as I've just done here, you'll notice it there. This is just the same as any other SharePoint list. It's your site, followed by the site name, followed by the list name. And in this case, it's followed by the view name, so the all items view that I'm showing you there. Now, if I want to let somebody book onto that event through maybe a drop-down in a Power App that I'm just building here, using the whole new Power App interface that we've got, it's really easy. So first of all, we go and get our data. So as you've always done, we first of all go and search SharePoint, and we make the connection to our SharePoint location. Then what you see is your site, so you'll choose your site there, and this is where things get interesting for those of you more familiar with lists than web parts. You'll notice there I've got a bunch of lists that I could choose from to connect to get the data. But where's that web part, that events web part? Well, it doesn't exist. However, all you need to do is enter a custom value. So make sure it's ticked. And because it's default, it's out of the box, it's always called the same, we can click Events. That'll create the link to events. You can check it's gone to the correct place by clicking the ellipse and click Edit Data. Notice that's exactly the same list as I was just working with. Let's pop back to the Power App. All we now need to do is go and wire up our drop down to that particular piece of data in the event list that represents maybe the event title. So how we do that is through the items property of your drop down. This syntax here works with those custom connections that you just created to those lists which are not exposed through the interface. So we've got the events and we've got the title column from those events. And that's all I had to do. And let's just have a little look now. We've got one event in there. At the moment, there is just one event. If you go and add some more events, you can just always refresh your data connection and you will get any new data items you've put in there. But that's a simple way to just wire it up. Now, let's say, for example, you had a submit button. All you would need to do is patch and use this syntax here to get back to the events list and patch the individual title items, etc. So let me just show you a quick example of that. So for the sake of speed, here's one I built earlier. It's just a text input. It's just two date pickers and a button, and the button on select has got a patch. And all the patch does is it patches to that event connection, that event list connection, and uses the defaults of events for anything that I don't put in specifically. And then it will patch the title as the text input .text. Start time is the selected date and the end date is the selected date. Forgive me for format, forgive me for not naming these, I'm doing it for speed. But just to test it, let's give that a submit. And let's go and check our list. And you'll see there I've got a new test event's just been added. That's Yesterday at 4 p.m. must have been what I had in the date picker. But there you go, that's all added. So you can see you can pull data from your list and you can add data to your list. And because it's an event type list, it's in a particular setup out of the box, you've got all these lovely views to play with. You've got the calendar view and then you've got your list view. And if you want to, you can change the list in the same way as you can change any list and add data to it in this way. So you've got your columns, classic interface, and do all sorts of funky stuff with it. So just a good example of how easy it is to work with Webpart data if it's kept in a list like the Events Webpart is.